I think Amanda, we're all good to go. We're recording.
You are recording and live on YouTube.
Okay.
All righty then. We'll call the Finance and Personnel Committee to order. Today's date is March 3rd, 2021. Notice has been posted at City Hall and the current time is 7:15 p.m. Item one, with the call to order, let's do roll call. Myself, Dan Stevens, am present. Jim Olson.
Present.
Diane Wolf.
Present.
Also joining us, we have Her Honor the Mayor, we have Finance Director Fred Bueller, we have City Administrator Eric Reinflush, we have Jared Holter, Nils from IT, Katie Espenson is in the audience, and in line we have Alder Tom Smith, Alder Carrie Burmaster, we have Chief Ashbeck, Parks and Rec Director Dan Wick, Amanda Jackson, the City Attorney, Amy Hewitt from HR, Chief Troy Goody, and City Clerk Joanne Marcon. Item two, approval of minutes from the previous meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Olson, second by Wolf to approve the minutes. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, minutes are approved. Item three, public input. Public input will be limited to 3 minutes. If anybody would like to provide public input to the Finance and Personnel Committee, now is the time. Second call for public input. Third and final call for public input. Hearing no public input request, public input is now closed. Consideration and possible action on the following items. Under Finance, item 4, the 2020 Omni Center financials. Mr. Bueller.
Okay, I thought it would be a good idea, just kind of recap of what had transpired and pretty close what I call unaudited finals for the Omni Center. What I want you to do is, if you don't mind, unless you have questions elsewhere, slide to page 3. Page 3 is, I have a footnote on the bottom showing that we had a transfer in as revenues or to assist the Omni Center of $228,306.91. Down below is the breakdown of that. The Special Revenue Fund transferred $63,174, even though they only took in approximately $40,000 due to the pandemic. The resolution that the council did last month of $93,932 was to assist and try to get fairly close to what I called budget neutral after we got our expenditures in the area of a couple of accounts that we still were working on since last meeting. The room tax took in 56,000, of which they normally take in 100 and some thousand. So that was almost half of what they normally would take in. And they always contribute additional 14,000 additional revenue, and that equates to the $228,306. If you flip over to page 2, the bottom line is between, right on the bottom, you'll see the revenues amounted to $580,163.15 compared to expenditures after all this was said and done of $580,259.28, leaving a deficit of $96. And that was what we were trying to get in that area and try to accomplish. Then going to page 6, unless you have any questions. On page 6 is somewhat of a recap. And also I had handed out tonight the special revenue projects fund of where these dollars reside. And so this is a recap of what really transpired in the dollars received by the Omni Center. We had sales of 5.6 million. As we had just stated a little bit ago, the 1% of that the Omni Center got was 56,700.91, which is approximately halfway down the page. And then you also see the Fund 204 took in $43,688, where they normally take in approximately $77,000 to $80,000 a year. The other thing I wanted to mention is I handed out a colored sheet this evening. There's a couple of arrows, and the one on the bottom is probably the most important. We had discussed at prior meetings that if you were to follow this all the way to the left, but I had to cut the pages down because of the size, this is the fund that we had $1.5 million in. And you can see the balance as of 12/31/2020 is $760,280. The other check mark about a little bit about approximately 1.5 inches up the page on the right is the room tax. That account, as we had stated earlier, excuse me, that account we talked earlier takes in roughly $77,000 to $80,000 annually. Each year, the city goes on record through the budget process, gives the Omni Center approximately $67,000 to $70,000 yearly. And we gave them, or I shouldn't say, a journal entry had taken place to match the same thing we have in the past. And then as an end result, it had to dip into its reserves, and now its reserves sit at $67,936. For those that have been here for a while, you may recall is when the city had been part of the Badger Coulee lines, this is the location in which the city used dollars to assist that project. And that is, if you have any questions other than that, I don't have any questions or anything more I can give you on the Omni Center.
Are there any questions for Mr. Bueller? All right, what is the pleasure of the committee?
Motion to accept and place on file the 2020 Omni Center financials as presented.
Second.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to accept the 2020 Omni Center financials and place on record. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the financials, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Financials are accepted. Item 5 then, Fred, the 2021 general fund financials.
Okay, the general fund financials, as you may recall, is in the month of February, we pay January bills. So roughly only 1/12 of the bills that have been processed are in the statement. So this is somewhat, actually the first glance that you have seen. In other words, the revenues that were budgeted for the year is indicated on page 12 of $9,977,315. And to date, we have spent $281,692. I shouldn't say spent, we received $281,692. Then the rest of it is the expenditures throughout the year. Like I say, it's very, very early. And now, just for information only, is you have to remember the city's financials in reference to payroll. So all the days that represent last year's business, an accrued journal entry was done to transfer it into 2020. So you don't see a whole lot of expenditure. It's a lot smaller because of the fact that I think 4 of the days was transferred into last year on that first payroll. I think it's roughly 40% of it was charged to last year and 60% was 2021. Other than that, pretty much starting all over and off we go. I don't have anything unless you do.
Thank you, Fred.
Motion to accept the 2021 general fund financials and place them on file as presented this evening.
Motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson to approve the 2021 general fund financials. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Financials are approved. Item 6, authorization to approve resolution 19-2021, state trust fund loan on the 2021 capital projects that were not eligible for general obligation bonds in the amount of $253,388. I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by me, seconded by Olson to approve resolution 19-2021. Is there any discussion? Yes, Mr. Bueller.
The only thing I wanted to add is so you understand the process. And so we had our public hearing last month. We approved to move forward. We're going into the bond market. We'll have the results of how that came out at the council meeting. And then it also gave me the green light to do an application for the state trust fund loan. Once I did that application, they assigned, in other words, on the bottom of page 24, about 2/3 of the way down on page 25, you'll see that identifier of 05605-481 as the state trust fund loan for the city in the amount of the $253,388. And you also see on page 27 of the resolution outlining what the city intends to borrow the dollars and what they intend to use it for. The Common Council then will approve this resolution and it'll be moved on to the state of Wisconsin, of which then the Commissioner of Insurance then will review and authorize us for the loan, as indicated on the interest rate of 2.5% for 5 years.
Fred, is there any other discussion? No, then let's vote. All those in favor of approving Resolution 19-2021, as stated in the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 19-2021 passes. Item 7, review and approval of modification, modifications to the 2021 fee schedule. This seems like this might be a Katie Aspenson thing. No? Who wants to take this? All right, well, let's find this in the agenda. Pardon me?
Yeah, yes.
It's the masks.
Yeah, it's fine. All right, thank you. So before you this evening are a couple of modifications that we're looking to propose to the 2021 fee schedule. In particular, previously major and minor home occupations were both charged the same fee. We are looking at breaking that into 2 separate fees. As minor home occupations don't have a lot of people coming to their homes, we're trying to keep them at a very low level. So as we come upon them, we can send them a letter and work through with that process. Keeping the major as a higher value is more so intended to, this one does have employees. So we want to encourage home occupations to the degree that people are able to start up a new business, see how it goes. But the intent is for those, if they become truly successful, that they would move to a commercial building. So that's why there's a differentiation in the fee and also city staff review time. Pertaining to the commercial and multifamily structures, the building permit fee cap. Previously, there was a cap for the maximum amount that the city would charge for a building permit fee was $40,000. Due to this value hadn't changed for over 10 years, so we wanted to add it back in, and we have since increased that to $50,000, more so to apply to a cost of living increase over the time from when it was there. So that would only be instituted if a really large structure came in one of those types of buildings. We would cap that building permit fee at $50,000. Further, the additional changes also on the fee schedule, note the recreational burn permit, that has not changed. That was just simply moved in the fee schedule. And then we also added in a new fee for the open burning permit. That's a new application that would run through the clerks and fire department.
Alder Wolf.
Thank you. Katie, I forgot to ask this question earlier when I talked to you about this. Under the home occupation permit per major, typically when we see things come through, usually the initial fee is higher and the renewal is a lesser amount. This is the first time that I can remember where the first year is less dollar amount, but it's at $50 for the first year, and then it's a $100 renewal. Can you explain why it's that way this time?
It's essentially going back to the original where it's a new business starting out. We want to do our best to support them. And then we would also have the opportunity in the subsequent years to see if any issue with neighboring residents has come upon that. So it's an opportunity for the city to taking complaints. And then again, the same token, if they keep growing, it would be at that point a push to go to more of a commercial business as opposed to keeping that in a residential area. So we're basically giving them in, starting them in small, and then if they do progress, that's the additional fee.
Great, thank you. I'll make, oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you, Katie. I will move that we,
Peter,
the
our
modifications.
lieutenant is eating coffee cake again.
Is he?
Come on up for coffee cake.
Troy, do you have any questions for the committee? No. Okay, so we have a motion by Alder Wolf to approve the modifications.
Okay,
Yes,
that's where I was going, yes. I got interrupted, yes. As presented this evening, the amended copy, yes.
Need a second? Yeah. Aye. Yes.
so we have a motion by Wolf, seconded by Olson, to approve the modifications to the 2021 fee schedule. No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Modifications are approved. Thank you very much, Katie. Item 8, modifications to the Purchasing Budget Accounting Finance Manual. Is this Amanda or Eric?
I can take this. So probably the most easy to look at piece is that first page, which is the purchasing policy matrix. And so one of the questions that I often get the most is, I want to do a purchase. Do I need a contract? Do I need a PO? And I'm sure Fred gets this as well. You know, who has to sign off on it? And it's just a very confusing process for staff. And so the goal of this was to have, you know, a one-page document that really made it clear the process for purchases so that staff would have an easy reference to understand. And so that's kind of outlined in that first page, the purchasing policy matrix. And then we updated the finance manual, which starts right there kind of in the beginning to address purchasing along the lines of the purchasing matrix. So walking through the different requirements for the different amounts and what that would require. And it's just a clearer policy. There wasn't a very in-depth policy prior to this, and it left a lot to the unknown. And so we also, the major update was, if you remember back earlier this fall, we removed the requirement related to surplus property, and we had said that we would include a requirement that we give council an update on surplus property. So we clarified that policy in here towards the end of it to include that, to include how, outline how the city would address surplus property, you know, whether it's donation, auction, sealed bid, negotiated sale, or trade-in. Most often it ends up being by auction. And that we'll give an annual report on that every year. And then there were just a few minor cleanups. There were some typos I know we fixed. And then one of the things we added was a signature line. So moving forward, any city employee that does purchasing will sign off on their understanding of these policies moving forward.
Thank you, Katie. Does anybody have any, or Amanda, sorry. Anybody have any other questions for the city attorney? Yes, Alder Wolf.
Thank you. I want to thank those who worked on this manual. There were a lot of updates. I, for one, appreciate the purchasing policy matrix. It made it a lot easier to understand once I had absorbed that and then actually went through the 30-some pages or whatever. And I think it'll definitely be so much easier for staff to just be able to look at a quick synopsis of what do I need to do. I also appreciate reading this policy that we are encouraging to buy local if possible. Also, taking into account that not necessarily having to always go with the lowest bid. because that may not always be the best course for the city. The one thing I do want to bring up, though, is the surplus property, because that, I know when it, I think it got removed from a title last spring or summer. And I do believe it is the appropriate place to have it in this policy manual. It used to be that council always got like, we either had to give permission or at least we got at least a report on the surplus property. And I don't remember the last time that we got one. I don't think we got one last year, but I do see that it's being proposed on page 60. The finance director shall give an annual report each year in December outlining the sale and or disposition of any surplus property. This is a new addition that is just going in. Fred, we didn't get anything last year, did we?
Fred Trickett said no.
I'll be happy to.
And I, like I said, because I was always just used to through the years, I personally don't think that council needs to be making those decisions like I think we did in the past. I think it should really fall in the department head's hands. But I would like to request a report on like as of December of last year and then going forward, when you have a chance, no hurry. Oh, I'm sorry, for the year 2020.
So report at the end of the year, every year in the surplus.
Right,
That
but
way
I would like,
council doesn't micromanage
right,
surpluses.
Yes.
We're just advised of what transpired.
right.
No, I won't go into I think what you're really after is the larger items like squad cars, dump trucks,
Yes,
fire trucks.
yes, yes.
We could put a dollar amount.
Well, I'm also looking at making the report so you have that information. So what information do you have readily available? Because I'm not looking at making this.
Yeah, it's all in a nice little folder because what the city does is you're probably well aware, is we sell everything on the state.
Wisconsin government surplus is where we dispose of most city equipment. The other spot, like, for instance, in Board of Public Works, we just traded in the dump truck with the new purchase. So there are a few trades, but most everything the city disposes of is through Wisconsin surplus, online surplus auction. There are items that don't get a bid, and then we just toss them, basically.
So if you have a folder, if we could just get a report of what was for the calendar year 2020.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And one follow-up question to Amanda would be, if I'm reading this matrix correctly, council and or the Board of Public Works would not see anything for their approval until the threshold starts at 15,000. Is that correct?
I think it's 25 in the matrix.
What'd you say?
25,000 is the public works construction, which is the far right-hand 2 columns. So between 5,000 and 24,999, it's written quotes with the class 1 notice afterward, and it's by the administrator. Assuming it's budgeted.
Where do you see that? I'm sorry.
On the far 2 columns.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
And we're trying to follow the state
Sure.
statutes as far as you have to bid over 25,000.
Okay. And what, if I may ask, what was the threshold before?
The old purchasing policy had 25,000 had to get approved, and I'm working off memory here, Fred, but there was, if it was budgeted up to 25, you could put the 2 quotes in there's a convoluted way of doing it, and it was different for different things. That's the reason we're going to this.
And I totally support this because we really need to make
Oh.
it easier. and more-
Now, it doesn't mean that staff did not bring forward items that were under 25. Like I know on Board of Public Works, many times we brought forward, like the air compressor was $20,990. We had that on this month's agenda, but
But going forward, we would not see that.
you would not have to. It doesn't mean it couldn't come, but we would not have to bring it forward, correct?
Okay, thank you.
Exceptions, though, are the awarding and placing the order approval that near the bottom of the page, in those columns, for new contract services and equipment, that's 15,000 and above. For renewal of contract services and equipment previously budgeted for, over 30,000 above, the award still would come to council. That's not a change, that's current practice. hence the need for the matrix, because some things are 15,000, some things are 25,000.
And I think it has been, I agree, it's been very convoluted through the years, and this will really help to streamline, so this is something I certainly support, so thank you. Sorry.
Correct. And if it's a non-budget item, it has to become a budget item by going to council. No.
So I will move to approve the modifications to the purchasing, budget, accounting, finance manual as approved, or as presented this evening.
Just for clarity, do you want language on the request for at the end of the year? Or do you want to do this as stated?
Well, that was just a special personal request for 2020. For the end of the year, it is in the manual. And
All right.
I don't think we need to make that a motion.
That motion would not be pertinent to the agenda item. That would be discussion item that Fred would just, through conversation, would submit to the committee and council.
All right then, so we have a motion by Alder Wolf. There is a second by Alder Olson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the modifications to the purchasing, budget, accounting, finance manual, please say aye. Aye. Modifications have passed. Moving on to the personnel section of the agenda. Item 9, discussion on Public Works Department organizational structure alterations. Is this Jared, you want to take this?
That is me. Thank you. In your packet tonight, I have included a memorandum outlining reorganization of the Public Works Department. With our, as I point out in the memo, there's some main drivers of the proposed changes. We've got major retirement of our Public Works Manager, Jim Prindle. We've got some, what I feel are deficiencies right now in our very vertical structure. And we've shown that all duties fall under multiple people when in reality, not all of those duties can be performed by those individuals that we currently show in our org chart. We would like to make it more horizontal where we actually have duties assigned to individuals that would make sense as far as workload, and also to define a structure where we have a chain of command that is much easier to follow. Right now, we've got so many people vertically that it is hard and difficult for things to get moved around properly. As you know, we with retirements about 3.5 years ago, we did a department or reorganization, and I feel that it was very beneficial at the time, really moved us forward. I think we're due for more. Part of it is, just ever-changing structure of duties and things, such as the addition 1.5 years ago, 2 years ago, of the full IT functions in the Public Works Department. Just trying to find a home for that and trying to find where that's going to fit into the overall structure of the Public Works Department. So really tonight, I just wanted to bring this forward to let you know that it's happening. If you've got questions, come see me. If you would like to discuss it further, come see me, come gather input. I wanted to make sure that you knew what was coming before I come forward with a new organizational chart, job descriptions, things such as that. So that way we've got on our radar. But really the one of the biggest impetus for this is, with our retirement and not budgeting for the replacement of our Public Works Manager, we really need to restructure, and I feel it's an opportunity for the Public Works Department to be even better than it is now, and really define roles. We've learned a lot in the last 3.5 years since the last reorganization. I have been the City Engineer Director of Public Works for 15 years now, and I think this is about the 4th time. So we do keep trying to get better and better as time goes on and reevaluate where we're at and do the best we can. So with that, open for questions, or if the Administrator would like to add some points.
Thank you, Jared. Mr. City Administrator.
as are reflected upon the impetus for it, and I don't need to recover that again. I do want to point out sort of that last sentence in his middle paragraph there about the new job descriptions, and just reiterate the fact, as we move forward to continue to improve the structure of the department, there has been input given by employees of Public Works Department regarding their job descriptions and making sure that the tasks that are listed in the job descriptions fully are incorporated in the job description. So I do want to publicly state that will be a consideration as Jared moves forward, is to making sure those job descriptions reflect the duties as input given by those employees. So there'll be additional changes with employee input.
Thank you, Eric. Anyone else?
I guess the only thing that I wanted to add with what Eric just said, to piggyback on that, is it isn't any different than any other position. So we're just looking to reorg and make sure that everything is calculated accordingly and presented that aligns with our new compensation plan. So thank you. I look forward to your report. I'll probably be stopping in, but yeah, because I have heard comments through the years about there's just so much verticalness, and so I look forward to your presentation. You think that'll be next month?
I would hopefully, I'm shooting for in the next 2 months, either if I can, either April or May. We'll see how it's progressing. We're making steps along with org charts and scoring and things, but just takes time, and it's something you really want to do, and then let it sit for 3 days and then come back and look at it again.
Do it a crossword puzzle.
And try to incorporate input, and we really want to make sure we've got something that's not done in a week, because this is hopefully going to be a long-standing organizational chart for the department, and we are a large organization within the city, so it is very crucial to try and do the best we can with it when we're doing it.
I'm guessing we would all agree that if we don't see it till May, that's fine. You need to take the time to do it right. So thank you.
Generally, I'm more of a fan of flatter organizational structures. I think it's better suited to get everybody to do what needs to be done rather than stand on pomp and circumstance and who's in charge. So it's nice to hear. All right, this is a discussion item, so we don't need to vote on this. Any other thoughts? All right, let's move on to item 10, the update on recruitment and open positions within the city of Onalaska. Is this Amy Hewitt?
I can take this. I drafted it.
Okay, Amanda.
So just a few updates from what's on paper. The assistant fire chief position, we did do interviews on Monday night. The Police and Fire Commission did, and they did decide to extend an offer to a candidate. So we are waiting on that response right now. We're still in the process of that. We do have recruitment ongoing for a police department eligibility list, as well as the fire department will be having agility testing scheduled for April. So letters should be going out by the end of the week, inviting candidates to participate in that. We are interviewing next Thursday for the paralegal position. We have 4 candidates that will be interviewing for that. And we do have interviews scheduled next week, Wednesday, a round robin interview to interview candidates for the human resource manager. So we are moving along on recruitment.
It's like a lot going on. Great,
It
thank you for
is.
the update. Let's go to item 11. Review and consideration of the updated finance director job description. I have no idea who to point this to. Eric, you're my go-to guy.
Amanda, did you want to start, or? Was Amanda?
Do you want me to start?
I'm just asking, did you want me to start, or do you want to start?
You can start.
Following the format of the HR director or HR manager job description that came in front of the committee and council last month, which we used to recruit for the position, you notice that the standard format is a little bit shorter than you've seen in the past. And the purpose of doing such is not to have a full entire checklist for, say, marketing purposes of every task that each position will do. In this case, the finance director position would do, but rather boil it down to the key components and a new standard, a new formats of the position. This does not mean, however, that some of those lists of tasks and duties that the finance director would do, much as the HR director do, won't still be done by that person. So it's a bit of different concept. We're used to having multiple pages and list everything that person may ever do in the job description. Instead, most of those tasks will fall under other duties as assigned. But from experience in speaking with our interim HR director, that becomes problematic when you're trying to recruit for people when you have every possible task listed. People feel like they're unable to achieve all those tasks, so they don't apply, when they're probably fully capable and able to do those and or learn them. So a little bit different format. That's the major kind of format change that you may see here. For any specific ones, I'll let Amanda speak to that or answer any questions if someone sees something.
Are there any questions? What is the will of the committee?
So the clean copy is the last 2 pages of the report. Anybody's looking at that? And all the pages before that are the track change versions. So you see, there's still a long list of essential job functions, which were boiled down to the essential ones.
So would it be problematic if the job, and I'm not opposed to this, but would it be problematic if a specific skill set was not listed and the person that we were to hire did not have that skill? Like, do we make them learn? Do we pay for the learning, or what happens if they can't?
I think the fundamental skill sets are covered in this job description. Some of the stuff that we took out, for example, I'll highlight one is that, the finance department tends to oversee the assessor's department. And so that is something that ultimately we can train somebody on, but something that, a finance person may not necessarily have experience on, coming from even a smaller municipality or a different municipality. I mean, not every finance director manages the assessment office. And so, but to Eric's point, that might be something that if somebody saw that and said, oh, I don't have that, maybe I shouldn't apply for this. We don't want to also remove candidates because that is a teachable skill, and that's, something that's kind of Onalaska specific.
So to summarize, the main purpose of this is to not discourage qualified candidates and to widen the pool of potential applicants.
Yeah.
I will make a motion to approve the updated finance director job description as presented this evening.
We have a motion by Alder Wolf, seconded by Alder Olson, to approve the updated finance director job description. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is approved. Item 12, adjournment.
Second.
Motion by Alder Wolf, seconded by Alder Olson to adjourn. Discussion? No. All those in favor of adjournment at 8:55 p.m., please say aye. I'm sorry, 7:55. 7:55. It's like we've had some long meetings lately. So all those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned at 7:55 p.m.